Hello and thank you for joining us for the latest CDN webinar introducing some CATIA Shape 3D sketching technology from Dassault. My name is Abel Sampson and I'm the publisher of Car Design News. CATIA for creative designers is a unified industrial design workflow solution to imagine, create and share the experience of virtual product design. In this webinar, Dassault Systèmes will present their technology of 3D sketching, introducing in CATIA for creative design V6. Presenters today are Xavier Melkonian, Director of CATIA Shape at Dassault Systèmes, and Pierre Maheut, Creative Designer and Product Expert, will showcase the new possibilities available to creative designers and outline innovative workflow based on 3D sketching, virtual clay modeling and visualization with interactive ray tracing. This session will last around 45 minutes or so, and we're wrapped up by a dedicated question and answer session at the end of the webinar. So please get ready to ask your questions throughout the webinar by typing them in the box in the lower right hand side of your screen. If you should happen to experience any technical issues during this session, please type these into the Q&A box and our team will do their best to sort out these for you. If you're using a PC, be sure to check that the audio is not in mute mode. We hope you'll find the webinar stimulating and informative. I'll now hand you over to Xavier to begin the presentation.
Hello Abel, and thank you. Hello everyone. So thank you for joining this webinar. So my name is Xavier Melkonian. I'm in charge of the CATIA product strategy for the Shape domain. I'm here with Pierre Maheut, our product expert and car designer, and we are very pleased to introduce you CATIA for Creative Designer, our software solution for styling and design department, and also introducing a new technology called CATIA Natural Sketch, which has been announced earlier this week. So the purpose of this webinar is to talk about CATIA for Creative Designer, our software solution for the styling department and the design studio. Just to tell you a little bit about how we made this solution available within Dassault Systèmes. First of all, before starting to build our solution, 5 years ago, we decided to make sure we really understand the job of the creative designers and the styling department. And to do so, we have created our own design studio within Dassault Systèmes called the Dassault Systèmes Design Studio, to really make sure we acquire the experience and the expertise about what is industrial design. So we had Anna Sancio, who joined us as VP Design Experience 5 years ago, and built up our own design studio with a team of about 10 people, from multiple talents, from creative designers in product design and transportation design, to visualization expert, user experience expert, and surfacing modeling experts. The goal was really to make sure we got the right expertise to understand the full workflow and the full daily challenges of the creative studios. And based on this experience, we started to build our solution for the creative designers. So with this solution, we want to make sure we support our customer competitive advantage by design strategy by focusing on appealing styling and design. And with this solution, we want to make sure we cover the 4 key challenges of the design department. First of all, to help our customers to develop their creativity to boost their innovation. We really want to make sure that our solutions are really supporting creativity and it's not coming as an additional constraint to the creative work of this design studio. The second goal is designers have a lot of creativity to do, but they also spend a lot of time to convince about their design, to take strategic decisions on their products. First of all, to convince themselves about their shape, colors, and material, but also to convince the chief designers and the decision makers, which can be from sales, marketing, or maybe also the consumer at the end. So we also need to make sure we help designers and design studio in this major challenge to help convince about their product design. The third one is also very important. We see more and more designers collaborating with the rest of the organization, reaching a point which is not anymore collaboration, but it's really interdependence between the different organizations. We see a major trend of having more and more complex products, even smart products, integrating a lot of engineering, system, electronic within the design of the product. So designers and design studio are really to be able to collaborate more efficiently with the rest of the organization. That's why we also want to facilitate this daily interdependence work from the different organizations, but also from different locations. And last but not least, design is also about product quality and product perceived quality. So we also need to make sure that with our solution we support this trend to allow our customer to achieve high quality surfacing product, but also to simulate and visualize and analyze all the aspects of perceived quality during the creative process. So based on these 4 key challenges, we started to build up our software solution strategy, CATIA for Creative Designers. And the goal is to offer a complete solution that we call the Unified Industrial Design Workflow Solution to imagine, create, share, and experience digitally virtual products and virtual design. So the first goal is to cover the complete process, the complete creative workflow, from ideation, conceptualization with concept modeling and concept assembly, to refinement up to Class A surfacing and reverse engineering. That's also explaining why we are integrating iSensor technology within CATIA, and design validation with physical and virtual prototype. And the goal is really to make sure we cover the complete process and we facilitate the complete creative process through a single solution. The second objective of the solution is to bring back 3D accessible to the creative designers. Most of the designers try to use 3D, but the actual technology, which was mainly based on NURBS modeling, is way too complex and too slow to explore design alternative and creativity. So we try with this solution, CATIA for Creative Designer, to really give back 3D accessible to creative designers, to be able to express the creativity by sketching for sure, but also to express the creativity by sculpting and doing virtual sculpting. And finally, helping designers to accelerate the process, but also to be creative like a painter, but also as a sculptor. The third goal of the solution, as I said, is also to streamline the process and to streamline the collaboration between interdependent organizations. As you know, in a complete process, in the creative process, there are multiple iterations between the styling department, the design department, and the engineering department. And if you're working with different platforms, different solutions, non-connected people, then you have disruption in every iteration. So this is really something we want to completely change and transform, to have a smooth collaboration, to first of all, for sure, accelerate the process, to avoid data loss, data corruption, and misinterpretation of the design. But more important, to also make sure that we keep the design intent intact through all the iteration from the styling and design department to the engineering department, to finally produce a product more rapidly, but with a higher maturity in terms of design. And last but not least, especially with version 6 and CATIA version 6, with the PLM 2.0 architecture, we want to facilitate the global collaboration. We see more and more customers opening styling and design studio everywhere on the planet, having marketing product managers somewhere else, and engineering and manufacturing departments somewhere else on the planet. So we need to reconnect all these people. You start to deal with very complex global organizations, and we need to make sure that you can stay connected in real time, working on the same IP and the same data. This is exactly what we are trying to achieve with CATIA version 6. So as I said, what is very important is to make sure we can cover the complete workflow of the creativity, from ideation, concept, refinement to design validation. So these last 2 years, we made a lot of work to reinforce all these 4 key fundamental steps of the creative workflow. But what is also very important for us is to make sure we have a very smooth transition between all these key different steps. There is nothing worse from designers and a design studio that the styling intent, the design intent that we got from a very nice sketch is not kept during all the process. So this is also something that we are working on to make sure that we keep these transitions very smooth, to keep the design intent intact through all the process. So to do so, we started first to make sure that we can integrate sketching technologies within CATIA for creative designer. And more important, a 3D sketching technology to make sure that the transition between the 2D ID to the 3D reality is very smooth and keeping the design intent. So why we did that? It's also because creativity always starts by a sketch. So it was very important for us to offer to the creative designer within the solution technology to be able to express ideas by sketching directly in 3D and to communicate creative ideas, but also to transform, as I said, a 2D ideas directly into a 3D reality. And why not? As we have a 3D sketching capabilities, giving the ability to creative designers to explore detailed design by also sketching directly on 3D objects. So that's exactly what we're trying to do with this new technology called CATIA Natural Sketch, bringing a new lifelike creative experience by sketching directly in 3D, to express and communicate ideas, to transform 2D idea into a 3D reality, and to explore detailed design by sketching on 3D objects. So I will give the end to Pierre Maheut to show you live how it works and how you can explore detailed design and communicate your design by directly sketching in 3D. Pierre?
Yeah, thank you, Xavier. So, here you can see my screen. What is interesting here is to see how the interface itself of the software has been done. To do so, just have a look. We do have a very blank page canvas kind of interface. We wanted to have it minimalist and with only the tools that the creative designer will need. So he access to what we call a tool world, where you can have a few icons that are corresponding to the functionalities and the tools that the creative designer needs to create. The first one is to select plane, because you will have to, because in a 3D space, being able to decide where I want to sketch. The second one is a pencil, and the pencil is very close to the pencil that the creative designer is using every day on a paper. And to have the same interaction you will have on the paper, we also are using right now a Wacom tablet, the new HD Wacom tablet, because the creative designers are using it already every day, and it's not very well known, but CATIA does support very well the graphic tablet interface, and we do recommend, of course, to use this kind of interface to use CATIA Natural Sketch. So then the second icon will be the trace command when you can create a 3D curve. Then, of course, you can erase or modify your work. And the last one is how you can scale, transform, translate the sketch that you just have created. So let's start with the pencil. So I can decide what will be the size and the opacity of my tool. And then I can start to sketch. So here again, you have the same kind of interaction as you would have on your everyday sketching tool. You can, of course, here, for instance, I start to do a profile of a car. I did also customize my interface with the Wacom tablet to be able to do easily Control-Z or things like that to directly correct some of the pen stroke that is not exactly the way I want. And so here I can start to refine my sketch and keep on sketching. So that's the first step is how you can start to create and imagine your car. Of course, you will probably want to do perfect circle, for instance. And to do so, you will access to the second command, and you will access to the command called primitive that helps you to get some automatic shapes such as perfect circle or perfect straight line. I had many creative designers who asked me how I do ellipse in Natural Sketch. But with Natural Sketch, you don't need to do ellipse anymore because you're already in a 3D world. So yeah, just copy and paste, and with some shortcuts, I can be perfectly aligned. So I did circle, and I will show you that here I was on a 2D because I wanted to have it like a pen and paper. But at any time, I can turn it into a 3D space, and you will see that the circle I just made is now ellipses because we are in a 3D environment. To also show you how 3D it is, we can start to have, for instance, technical packages or even some humans. So here we have the human representation that we did introduce within CATIA V6 a couple of months ago that is called the live human, just to have a first rough idea of how will be my passenger in the car. And you can also keep on sketching in that plan and start to do some vectorial curves, even if you are in the 3D view. And here, for instance, I just create a trace curve, and if I want to start to have a full 3D curve, I can adjust it depending on the passenger and start to have around the passenger fully 3D curve. So here, for instance, I start to have the first idea of how my 3D curve will look like, and I can modify this character line that will go around the car.
So the goal is to keep the gesture of the sketching paradigm by sketching with the Wacom tablet, and then you have the look and feel and the gesture-based approach of sketching, like you used to sketch with a pen and a paper, but in a 3D environment. So at any time you can continue to build this sketch in the 3D environment, in a 3D reality.
To add more details, and especially if you have, for instance, a library of wheels or also blueprints, you can, of course, drag and drop them directly in the 3D space and use it to add more details to your creation. So that is helping you to quickly add details, and it can also of course also be in position in the 3D world. So you will be able to directly get where you will be and how the 3D curve will behave with this sketch object. So now with a little bit more time, I will have do a 3D sketch as the one that I will be showing. So just switching to this sketch. I will have this kind of full 3D sketch. So you keep on having the humans. I did add all the details of the highlights and the rims to have this kind of complete 3D sketch. Of course, you can modify your view angle if you want to have more perspective effects or things like that. And that's the kind of results, the kind of 3D outcomes coming from Natural Sketch to define exactly in 3D the first idea, the first concept that you will have. And that's already a good basis to explain and to explore their concepts and to show to design managers or other creative designers or 3D modelers in which kind of direction you want to go for this car. The other thing that is very important is that this 3D sketch, and especially so 3D curves, are natively CATIA V6 curves. So they can be reused and used to create, for instance, surfaces, or to be an influence or other surfaces directly in CATIA. So here we will see that I did import some comments coming from CATIA item, and I would like to create a first surface to have a first idea of what my door will look like. So here, for instance, I'm selecting some guide curves and then some profile, and I can start to have a first surface. And I did apply a car paint, that a real-time visualization car paint, and I can already have some visual effects such as the flakes and the reflection of the environment. So again, it's just to push some very rough surface at the beginning to see how the 3D concept will look like in the real life. And on top of that, of course, because those curves are recognized and used all together, I can modify them and modify the surface I just created. So that's something that is very important, is with Natural Sketch. You do keep on modifying your design and keep on having, as you will do on a sketch on paper, work over and over again on your shape and lines to define exactly and to find the right package, the right sketch to present your object. So to illustrate this, this final scenario, I will show another capabilities of Natural Sketch is how you can sketch on a surface. So for instance, let's say that you have a clay that you just scanned, or you have a 3D modeler that already have made like a rough 3D. So here is kind of a rough 3D. For instance, is the one that I made with subdivision surfaces. And I can say now I don't want to draw on planes, but on full 3D support now. And so I can use both trace or pencil and start to sketch over again directly on the 3D. So if I want to start to do like the real life, I can give the overall shape, change of course the opacity and the size of the curve. And here you can imagine that I am on the screen of the plane of the screen, but now I did directly have my lines on the 3D surface. So here it's also, and that's a good feedback from creative designers that we've been that have been playing with the software, is that it's also a communication tool. It helps you to communicate between creative designers, 3D modelers, or between several creative designers. They can, on top of 3D, give some annotation directly on the 3D. I want this curve a little bit upper, etc. You can directly do that in CATIA Natural Sketch. So now I will give the end to Xavier.
Okay, thank you, Pierre. Thank you for this demo. So let's go back to the presentation, and thank you for this demonstration of Natural Sketch. So you understood the three things that we want to do with Natural Sketch is about giving the ability to creative designers to sketch in 3D, to express and communicate their creative idea more precisely, but also to transform directly the 2D idea into a 3D reality, to streamline the process and to accelerate the process. And last but not least, to allow also creative designers to explore detailed design by directly sketching on 3D objects. So I don't know if I'm on screen, but we'll continue the presentation. I think I switched to my computer. Yeah. So this is exactly what we try to achieve with CATIA for Creative Designer by introducing this new 3D sketching technology. Just to give you a little bit of understanding of how we did this product, so we collaborate a lot with our internal design studio, with some product and car designers, but we also involved a lot of external designers to make sure that we have the good level of user experience, and it's really achieving the level of creative they want to do by sketching in 3D. So the product had already a good, we received a lot of good feedback from different designers from different industries, because we also want to make sure that this technology is addressing all the industries. So you can sketch cars, but you can also sketch a medical device, electronic device, packaging, and any other kind of products. But as I said, this technology is part of a complete suite, CATIA for creative designers, covering the complete process from ideation, concept, refinement to design validation. You saw earlier in the presentation that these sketches, these 3D sketches, can be reused by any other workbench of CATIA, from solid modeling, surfacing modeling, or reverse engineering technologies. And it's very important for us because we really want to offer to the creative designer the choice in terms of modeling capabilities. We saw so many times designers switching from different software because sometimes they want to do explicit NURBS modeling, sometimes they want to do associative parametric surfacing, and sometimes they want to do polygons or subdivision surfaces. So our promise is to give to designers all these tools available and combined with a single environment. That's why we are talking about a unified environment and a unified modeling environment. And finally, giving to the creative designer, with CATIA for creative designer, a single solution doing at the same time subdivision surfaces with all the flexibility of virtual clay modeling, giving also NURBS explicit modeling with the integration of CATIA ISM, giving all the precision and quality and control of surfaces, Bezier and NURBS surfaces, and also the power of the associativity and knowledge aware of CATIA. And then you can combine all that. Just to show you one example of how you can combine all these different modeling technologies. Here, for example, on this car, we wanted to design a new side mirror. And the creative designer wanted to use subdivision surfaces because for him it's more quick and easy to use and easy to learn. And it's very quick to express his ID in 3D by doing some virtual clay modeling, just by pushing, pulling, rotating and scaling his control point, faces, and so on. So he can do some 3D ideation and 3D exploration. So here, for example, he's just removing faces and moving some edges to go to the final shape he wants to do. And at one of a time, so he's continuing his design exploration. Here he will do an alignment, and then he will change the scale of these control points. And at one point of time, you want to see what it looks like. So then, in CATIA for Creative Designer, we have introduced an interactive ray tracing and global illumination techniques. So at any time, you can switch from real-time visualization to interactive ray tracing to have, let's say, a physically correct visualization of your shapes, your shadows, your materials, and so on. So at any time, even if you're very early in the creative process with this, let's say, this rough 3D, you can already have a very good level of visualization. And then, as I said, we want to offer a unified environment. So for example, here the designer used the CATIA ISM styling fillet feature to connect a NURBS surface with the subdivision surfaces. So this is where you can see the full benefits and the full power of the solution. So at any time you can use the subdivision surfaces if you want to do virtual clay modeling to have all the flexibility. But if you want to have precision, you can use some very advanced class A surfaces of CATIA ISM. And taking benefits of the power of CATIA and the associativity of CATIA, you can see that if you change the subdiv, if you modify the subdivision surface, it will re-update the fillet and the final NURBS. That's the power of the associativity of CATIA. And vice versa. You can change the fillet, it will update the subdiv and so on. So here, one thing which is very nice with the subdiv is that it always maintains G2 continuity. Even if you remove faces, or if you move CVs, or if you move faces, it will always maintain a very good continuity between all the faces. You can also add hard edges on some faces if you want to have more stylish fading edge or hard edge at any time. And again, at any time, you can switch back to interactive ray tracing to see how it looks like in real life. With this technology, we also introduce a HDRI environment for image-based lighting to make it very simple and quick for design review. So for example, here we want to see how this new design looks like in a real environment outside. So we just select this outside environment, which is, by the way, the Dassault Systèmes campus that we capture with the Spheron cam. And then you can see how the design looks like in this real environment with the real lighting. And you're still in your creative solution. So at any time, you can switch back to subdivision surfaces or to CATIA ISM to change the shape and just reactivate the interactive ray tracing. There is no data conversion, no data preparation, and nothing. It's just switching on the interactive ray tracer. So this visualization experience is really part of your creative experience. And then it's about visualization, as I say, by integrating real-time visualization and interactive ray tracing solutions for multiple purposes. First of all, for styling and design review, to studies and take decision on the styling shape, but also on the behavior of the colors and materials, and also looking at some detailed shape and detailed design, like, for example, front lights and how it behaves in terms of reflections, lighting, emissive lighting, and so on. But it's also very useful for engineering purposes, like perceived quality studies, ergonomics, or design verification. And for sure, for sales and marketing purposes, to produce high-end photorealistic rendering. So to do so, we've introduced last year a new technology called CATIA Live Rendering within CATIA for Creative Designers for interactive ray tracing and global illumination. It's a technology based on a technology coming from NVIDIA Mental Images called iRay. So we are introducing this week the new engine of iRay, which is iRay 2.0, which allows us to support some very complex materials now with multi-layers materials. The particularity of this technology is that it's totally interactive, and it's doing interactive global illumination and ray tracing. And it's very important for us because creative designers, they are very in an interactive way. They want to create and visualize at the same time. They cannot wait for a few hours or a few minutes to see what it will look like with the reflection, lighting source, and so on. So we should bring this experience of visualization interactive, because it is when you're visualizing your data and your objects that you're also creating and changing your shape. So it has to be interactive and integrated in the modeling environment. The other interesting point about this technology is that it is physically correct. And you know, designers, they are doing rendering to see how it will look like in the real life to take strategic decision on the product. We are not in the film or game industry just to do some nice looking effects. We really want to take design decisions. So it's very important to have physically correct visualization. The other interesting point about this technology is that it's hybrid CPU and GPU. You know, when you're doing global illumination and ray tracing and you have a very good level of interactivity, you need a lot of computation power. And this technology is particularly interesting because it takes the full benefits of the full CPU you have on your computer, but also the full GPU as a computing device, not for display, but for computing. And when we see the power of the GPU today, it's becoming very, very interesting. And last but not least, we wanted to make it very accessible to every designer and to everyone. So in terms of user interface and user experience, we made it very close and similar to taking a photo with a camera. You will see that the user interface and the experience is very, very simple. So in few seconds, anyone can learn and use this solution to do visualization and rendering. So I will give back the end to Pierre Maheut, who will do a short demonstration to show you how it is integrated in your creative workflow and how simple it is to do interactive ray tracing. Pierre, it's in your hands.
Thank you, Xavier. So here we're going to switch back to CATIA V6. So again, I'm in the same session than before. I'm still in CATIA V6, and I can access to this level of visualization. So what are you seeing right now is a compute image based on a 3D model of a car that has been designed with CATIA ISM and all the CATIA V6 products. And what you can see here is what you can only achieve with ray tracing, and you cannot do with, for instance, real-time visualization, is having in the same time the reflection between the objects, having the shadow, hard and soft shadows combined. We also made some stuff to have some information about the ergonomy, having an accelerated surface over there to check what will be the side mirror view, and some engraving also with two kind of materials, one that is fully a mirror one and the other one that is more satinated metal. So again, those kind of reflection and those kind of images, you do need ray tracing to have them. So that's something that everybody knows, but the thing is that when you need ray tracing, usually it also needs a lot of time for computation. You have to switch back between render an image, and it's not exactly the one that you need, and then going back. And it's also usually complex to have the right illumination and light. So again, as Xavier said, we want to have a very simple interface. As you notice, like Natural Sketch, you have only few icons and only the icons that you will use. The first one is, of course, to start to render, and the second one is to apply material. So here again, because I'm interactive, I can start to move. I can keep seeing what will the reflection will look like. There is a small distortion while I'm moving, because it needs to calculate, and as soon as you start to release the mouse, it starts to converge and to achieve the right level of quality. But still, because you can still see the reflection while you are moving, you can exactly get the point of view that you want. So with the second icon, you can also, while it's rendering, have some materials. So here also is the way that CATIA V6 is handling materials and is behaving with a library of materials. Something that you have to have in mind is that because you are in a PLM 2.0, you can have a very large library of material. You can enrich it. You can share it with the company. You can also give the right to people to see or not those materials. You can also classify them and use some filters to filter and to get the material that you want. And you have a first pre-visualization of your material, and how to apply it is as simple as drag and dropping it. So as you have noticed, as soon as I start to apply it, it starts to converge again. And as like this, I can put some materials on my models, and also switch between materials to see how it will change the rendering and the visualization of my final product. So now that you have seen how to apply material, the thing that you probably want is to have several ways to light the car and to have environments, reflection of environments. To do so, we are using, as Xavier said, HDRI, capturing both environment and lighting of the scene. And we do deliver, and even more with the new version of V6, more libraries, more HDR in the library. But of course, if you have your own library, you can import it and directly visualize your own HDR, and you can even drop your HDR to have the reflection. So here, for instance, I'm going to switch from kind of a studio, a shooting studio environment to more kind of factory with many windows and reflection coming from there. So as you notice, as soon as I switch from one environment to another, all the reflection and the lighting is changing. The shadow is different because the lighting itself is different. And of course, as I did before, I can keep on moving and have a view of my model in this new environment. Something that you can also notice is that because we are inside CATIA and it's easy to do in CATIA, we did modelize the full 3D of the tires and the full details of the grills because we can generate them automatically. Other icon that you have is how to create cameras. So you can create cameras in order to have some point of view that you want to keep. And as soon as you start to create cameras and switch from one point of view to another, then you can go back to the camera that you just have created. Afterwards, and that's something that is in the heart of the product, and that's something that you will mainly use, is, as Xavier said, how you will have a photographic paradigm inside the software. So here what we did is how you can change your view angle and your depth of field with the focal directly inside your image. So again, we want to always to have the product being shown always, and you can change all those parameters directly. So here, for instance, I'm going to change the view angle, as I will do with the camera lens. And here I can switch and have some idea of a depth of field effect, meaning that I will have the background that starts to be blurry, and the focal point is going to be on the side mirror right now. If I want to switch from this side mirror to, for instance, the front light, I can directly do it inside the interface. And by doing that, I can declare a 3D object by being always focused. Even if I keep on changing the distance, I will have always the focus on my front light. So I think I'm done with the rendering. Again, no specialist has to be used to use this software. Everybody can do final images using CATIA Live Rendering.
Thank you, Pierre. And what is very important is that at any time you're still in CATIA for creative designers, you can change the shape, the surfaces, the colors, the materials, and everything. Or you can also sketch, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so some examples of the level of rendering you can achieve with this new Ray technology, which is very good in terms of physically correct, in terms of diffraction, reflections, and global illuminations. With this new version, we also have the capabilities now to manage, some very advanced and complex materials like multi-layer. So we introduced this week in the last release a car paint shader with all the flex effects and so on, the clear coat and so on that you can see. So if you just wait for a few minutes, you can produce this kind of rendering. And by the way, you can define the screen resolution you want when you're saving your image, if you need to produce some very high resolution posters. It's a very interesting technology also for interior design, because where lighting is becoming very important to really understand the atmosphere, the ambience, and the reflections and the lighting source on the object. So here is one example. So you see all the hard edge, the hard effects of the lights, but also all the reflections everywhere, and also the diffuse lighting from the global illumination or the radiosity everywhere. The lighting quality is very good. Another example here with some depth of field effect again. So you see it's a little bit blurry at the front of the image. It's also very interesting to use this technology for some examples of perceived quality studies. So for example, here you can notice some windscreen reflections on the dashboard. So or maybe the GPS. So as it is physically correct, this ray tracer is very interesting also to study that. So when you're designing the shape and you're choosing also the colors and material, you can also see interactively how it will look like in terms of perceived quality, in terms of reflections, and so on. Also, if you need to work on detailed design, when you have some complex materials like with a lot of reflections and so on, or if you need to also to study some fit and flush, some gaps, you can also study. As you're in CATIA, you have some tools to do the mean and max gaps on the assembly and the tolerancing. So you can visualize it instantly with also the physical correct shadows. So you can also do perceived qualities on fit and flush and tolerancing. Something that Pierre didn't show and didn't mention is that with this technology you can also add emissive lights. So at any time you can add a shader or an object and tell him to emit lights. or you can also add any other light source if you want. And as it is fully interactive, you can also use it, why not, to do some design review. If you have a scale one room, or even if you have a large screen display, as it is totally interactive and you're directly working on the digital mockup, as you're still in CATIA, you can really drive interactive session on the shape, the colors, and the material. And just for fun, as we told you at the beginning, by introducing Natural Sketch as a 3D sketching experience within CATIA, the 3D sketch that we are producing can be used by everything. As we told you, you can use this 3D sketch in all our surfacing and subdivision surfacing technology. But why not? Here we made a nice example. We use these sketches in Iray with the rendering engine. We just put an emissive material on the sketch, and finally you can produce this kind of artistic effect. And again, it's also a very good way to express creativity and to communicate your creativity. So that's it for this presentation, introducing our new solution, CATIA for Creative Designer, a complete solution to cover the complete process of industrial design, with the announcement and introduction of a new technology called Natural Sketch for 3D sketching. So thank you for your attention. We have a few minutes left for questions and answers, but if you do not have questions right now, you can still contact our local sales and pre-sales team in your different geos. So please take note the email address and don't hesitate to send mails. So we'll see for the few questions that we received from the chat of the GoToMeeting.
Hi, guys. That was really interesting. I think it's interesting to see how you used a lot of the different CATIA solutions and how they combine and work seamlessly. We've got some questions here, if I can fire them across to both of you. The first question is this a V6 only technology, or does this work with CATIA V5 too?
So you saw that CATIA for Creative Designer is combining different technologies. So the 3D sketching technology is only V6, Natural Sketch. The Iray interactive ray tracing technology is only CATIA V6. The real-time visualization is both V5 and V6. The subdivision surfaces technology is both V5 and V6. The CATIA ISM integration is both CATIA V5 and CATIA V6. The knowledge-aware and parametric surfacing is both V5 and V6. And all the other tools are V5 and V6. So to summarize, the only thing which is unique on V6 is the 3D sketching, the interactive ray tracing with CATIA Live Rendering, and for sure all the PLM integrated aspects to manage the shaders, to manage the IP, the data, and so on. One more question coming. So CATIA for Creative Designers is available for also, as a commercial license, as a commercial product for professional, but it's also available in the education package. So we have a specific education package for schools. And it's coming in two configurations for professionals. It comes in our PLM Express configuration for small and medium business industries, and in our high-end configuration. There is a question about... Yes, please.
Sorry, I've got a question here about what does the sketching technology bring more than Illustrator or Photoshop or other competition?
Okay. So the CATIA Natural Sketch is pretty unique on the market. It's the only one I know that is able to do 3D sketching. So you know, with Illustrator or other sketching technologies, usually you do 2D sketches. Here you can really sketch a 3D curve or 3D object. So you can do for sure 2D sketching, but you can also sketch in 3D, which is the main goal of this solution, is really to make sure we can help creative designers to continue to use the way they create by the gesture of the painting artist with the Wacom tablet and digital paint by sketching. But at the end, you're producing a 3D sketch, which facilitates the transition to the 3D world, but also allow designers to, from different views, to make sure that the sketch they are producing is realistic. It's something which is real. So the key difference is that here in this technology we are producing 3D sketch, not 2D sketch. And for sure that's also it's totally integrated in CATIA, so you can reuse this sketch to generate surfaces with other tools. We also got another question about, can I purchase Natural Sketch alone or CATIA ISM alone and so on. So CATIA Natural Sketch is part of a product called CATIA Industrial Design. So when you want to purchase Natural Sketch, in fact you receive Natural Sketch for 3D sketching. You receive technology to do also Photoshop import and bitmap imports. You also receive the subdivision surface modeler, the associative surfacing modeler, the first level of explicit surfacing modeler, NURBS modeler. You also receive direct solid modeling called CATIA Shape, and also a concept assembly tool, so you can assemble parts visually, and some other tools like IGES, STEP, rapid prototyping like STL export. And we also include in the product some drafting and automatic drafting tools. So you can also produce drafting. What else? So that's it in the package. Then so you cannot purchase a Natural Sketch alone. It's part of a product which allows you also to do some concept 3D modeling. Oh, by the way, we also put in this package the visualization part, so the real-time visualization part. Then you have a second level of package on top of this one, which is called CATIA Industrial Design Refinement, which includes advanced surfacing, developed shape to allow you to unwrap surfaces if you need to do some complex artwork on developed shape, developed surface, and which also includes CATIA Live Rendering for interactive ray tracing. And then you have a third level of package called CATIA ISM, which includes all the ISM technology for Class A surfacing with G3 continuity and so on. So this, yes, there is a question about Wacom and tablet device. So this technology is really sensitive to the gesture-based approach of sketching. So in this primary version, we collaborate a lot with Wacom. So to be efficient and to use it efficiently, you really need a pen, a digital pen, and a Wacom tablet. So it can be a Bamboo tablet or a Wacom Cintiq or an Intuos to really be able to efficiently use this technology. For sure, it works with a mouse, but you cannot really sketch with a mouse. So we strongly encourage our customer, if they want to use this 3D Natural Sketch technology, to use a Wacom tablet. So there are some questions about do we have any customer reference already using this technology? So CATIA for Creative Designer has been introduced to the market 2 years ago. So we already have customers in different industries, in cars, automotive, but also in the high-tech industry. By the way, we released a press release this week about Nikon's design, doing their design with CATIA for Creative Designers V6. But we have many others. In packaging industry, we do a strong collaboration with Procter & Gamble, but also in medical device, in shoes design, I mean consumer goods, but also in truck, bikes, and so on. Regarding Natural Sketch, the technology has been announced this week, sorry. So we don't have yet customer because the product just is been released this week. But our customer who already purchased CATIA for Creative Designer, the package, the product I was mentioning called CATIA Industrial Design, they will automatically receive with the new release this Natural Sketch technology. We have the questions about can we use this technology to do animations? So yes and no. No, the software is not an animation software. So you cannot produce some complex animations within CATIA for Creative Designer. But you can do some animation that just by turning around the car or turning around the object, this kind of simple animation. Or as you're in CATIA, you have also other tools that you can add as option if you want, like a kinematics, dynamics, or these kinds of options. So if you want to set up a full kinematics of the opening of the car, or the kinematics of the of anything, you can add it. I mean, but this is more engineering-driven kinematics than, let's say, CGFX animation kinematics that we are talking about now. But you can play this animation within CATIA. Now, if you want to have a kind of a full driving experience like a game engine, we have another product within Dassault Systèmes called 3DVIA, with 3DVIA Virtuals and 3DVIA Studio, which allows you to build some very high-end experiences, which can be driving experience or virtual reality experience or car configurator for the web. So where you can add a lot of behaviors like physics, if you really want to have a driving experience with physics behavior of your car, or adding some VR devices like heads-up display, tracking device if you have a cave or a cave configuration with immersive screens. But this is a separate software, so you need to transfer the data from CATIA for Creative Designer to 3DVIA Virtuals. So we have a lot of many other questions, but I cannot answer to all the questions. So just want to finish one question about the render engine. Yes, the render engine uses all the CPUs that you have on your computer plus all the GPUs. And it's the user who chooses if he wants to use both CPU and GPUs, or if the user wants to use just the CPUs for the rendering computation or just the GPU. And with the last release that we announced this week, we are also introducing a cluster configuration. So if you have a render farm, if you want to have, let's say, 1,000 CPU or 1,000 GPU, you can also use it as a cluster configuration. So I will give back the end to Abel Simpsons to close the webinar. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Xavier, for that. We are inundated with questions, as Xavier mentioned, and the Dassault guys are going to be busy this afternoon answering all your questions. Thank you again, guys, Pierre and Xavier, for the presentation. This webinar will be uploaded onto our archive and accessible in the future for all your colleagues who have been unable to attend the live presentation today. You can access this and previous webinars under the Process tab on CDN homepage. Thanks again for joining us, and we look forward to welcoming you to the next CDN webinar in the coming weeks. Thanks. Goodbye.